The Houston Texans don't have enough for the Kansas City Chiefs. They lose in Kansas City 27-19, and a devastating loss in a bunch of different ways. We'll talk about it throughout the course here of the post-game show. Talk about the offense not being able to get it done, the defense finally breaking a little bit after bending throughout the portion of this one. Obviously, the devastating, terrible loss of Tank Dell and the injury that he suffered in this game. So much more, plus your joys, comments, questions, and concerns. Get into the chat. We'll have plenty of conversation for you. Super chats jump to the front of the line. You want to get in the live link for your call, video or audio, at the top of the chat on the YouTube. So plenty to get to. We'll get to your comments. And again, the super chats go to the front of the line. A costly loss here for the Houston Texans. Ultimately, nowhere near good enough for the Houston Texans in this one. D'Amico Ryans talked about it all week long. This is a Kansas City Chiefs team where you've got to finish. You've got to strain. You've got to be on the details. And the Texans weren't on the details. They didn't finish, and they feels like they didn't strain to the point where they needed to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in this one. The Chiefs had answers for everything the Texans threw at them. Defensively, by the end of the game, the Texans did not have answers at the end of the game on offense for what the Chiefs did to adjust and get to them. It was just a game that showcases Kansas City is at a higher level than the Houston Texans right now. They are just above where the Texans are. It's where the Texans want to be, where they can overcome small mistakes and small things don't turn into snowballs. The Texans, when they make a small mistake, usually it ends up being a big mistake somewhere down the line for this team, but not near enough to take care of a Kansas City Chiefs team. Certainly not when the referees affect the game to that level. The Texans suffer the injuries that they suffer. It became more and more imperative that the Texans don't make any mistakes throughout the course of this game. And then ultimately, they ended up making some mistakes there in the second half. They couldn't get close enough to finish this thing off here against the Kansas City Chiefs. An unfortunate loss, and certainly more than just a loss on the scoreboard for this team because of everything else that they suffered. Let's talk right now about Tank Dell. Tank Dell suffering a severe knee injury in this one. It was stabilized. He was put on a cart and driven off. He went to a local hospital. D'Amico Ryan said after the game he will stay there overnight. Tank Dell, unfortunately, his 2024 season is done. You saw, if you haven't seen CJ Stroud's press conference after he was broken up in the game about Dell suffering another season-ending injury for the second season in a row. I feel terrible for Tank Dell. What a tough situation to go through. There was nothing that Tank Dell did wrong on this play. He made an incredible play, one of the most incredible plays of the season. It looked like Jared Wayne going in there trying to catch the ball as well. When he dove, he landed on Dell and kind of rolled his leg out, and it looked serious right away. Dell held on to the ball. It was scored a touchdown, obviously, but the immediate just pain that you saw Tank Dell go into, if you've seen some of the still images, we're not going to put them up here, but it does not look good for Tank Dell. The 2024 season is over for him. I don't know what that holds for 2025 or the rest of Tank Dell. I hope that he feels okay sooner rather than later. We've seen guys get the air cast and get carted off and it not be super serious. This one looks super serious, unfortunately, for Tank Dell. In back-to-back years, it's devastating injuries to the lower part of his leg, and that ended his season in back-to-back years. It puts into question what he can do in 2025 and certainly the years beyond that. Hopefully, it is a speedy recovery. What it felt like was a speedy recovery last year for Tank Dell, but he has to go down that long recovery road yet again, which is just so tough to handle. I have to imagine for Tank Dell, and tough to handle for his teammates. You saw the injury drastically affect the way the Texans could play offense. After that, the Chiefs were really dialed in on Nico Collins, and then you have Robert Woods and Jared Wayne and Dalton Schultz, and you just don't have enough on offense once Tank Dell goes down. It was the best game of his season. I know he had more yards against the Jets, but this was Dell's best game. He was in the offense. He looked like the 2023 version of Tank Dell that was a difficult cover, that was hitting his routes precisely, getting the separation necessary to execute for this team, and it looked like he was on his way to recapturing some of that incredible success that he had last year as a rookie. Unfortunately, the injury puts a stop to that. Devastating. Feel terrible for him. Hope that thing is not nearly as bad as it seemed. We've seen some of that this year with the NFL. I mean, Aiden O'Connell got carted off with an air cast a couple weeks ago. He's playing this week for the Raiders. Hope it leans a little bit closer to less severe than more severe, but it does appear that Tank Dell's season for 2024 is indeed over. 2025 in question. The rest of the career, who knows? Who knows? But get well soon, Tank Dell. We talked about this offense a little bit. The offense is still Jekyll and Hyde. They had one of their best drives of the season on that first touchdown drive, but then they get in the red zone sometimes, and it's like they pass an invisible barrier where they just can't block. They can't get the ball out to receivers. CJ Stroud isn't as crisp or as put together in the red zone. And they just have negative plays on rush plays. Like the red zone stuff is just so terrible. They settle for field goals way too often. It's certainly a team that lives in the margins like the Texans that has these very, very small windows that they need to go through to maximize what they can do in a game. They shoot themselves in the foot, make too many mistakes in the red zone, and end up settling for 3 when 7s are necessary to beat a team as good as the Kansas City Chiefs in this one. And we'll talk about it over the course of this postgame, I'm sure, and I'm sure a lot of people have comments about it. Stop throwing wide receiver screens. They don't work, okay? The league knows how to attack your wide receiver screens, Bobby Slowick. Stop throwing them. They threw 4 wide receiver screens today. I don't think any of them went for positive yards. The one time they faked the wide receiver screen and threw it to Joe Mixon, it was the only time they've ever executed a screen well, it feels like. I've never seen a team this bad at a particular play continue to run the damn play. Stop throwing the wide receiver screens, okay? Stop throwing it. The defense eventually couldn't do it. Once Jimmy Ward was out, that's a significant injury. That's a guy that has good coverage for you. That's a guy that can handle Kelsey and Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins. He can cover anybody that the Chiefs were going to throw at you in this matchup. But once he goes off with that foot injury, then you've either got Miles Bryant in there, who hasn't played a ton and is a much smaller player with a lot less success in his career than Jimmy Ward, or you got Kamari Lassiter bumping inside, and that puts Jeff Okudah on the field. And Okudah is not trusted by this team. They damn near refuse to put him on the field, so it seems unlikely that they have a good solution to the injury that Jimmy Ward suffered in this one. And who knows? I mean, Jimmy Ward left on a cart, so he's not going to be ready for Wednesday against Baltimore. Is he going to be ready for the playoffs? Is his season over? Yet again, an injury drastically affecting what Jimmy Ward can do for this team. And this one, it looked like his foot just got caught in the turf. It didn't look like anybody rolled up on him or anything like that. But the coverage and the Chiefs' adjustments, they just were able to move the ball and continue to move the football against the Texans. After Jimmy Ward was out, they started attacking the open space. They had some good misdirection stuff where they had the big throw over there on the side where I think it was Pacheco or maybe it was Hunt, just took it right up the sideline there. And the Chiefs' adjustment, you saw Mahomes early in the game. The pass rush was getting home. It was forcing him to make quick decisions. And he had some really un-Mahomes-like throws, stuff that's bouncing. Looked like he's throwing ground balls to little leaguers. But eventually they adjusted, and they got excellent production out of their tackles in this one. Joe Thuney moving out from left guard to left tackle. That guy's one of the best offensive linemen in all of football because he previously has played center and guard, and now he plays tackle, and he didn't look like he was having too many problems with Danielle Hunter or Will Anderson in this one. Juwan Taylor was fine over there. They got to Mahomes a couple of times, but ultimately they weren't able to continue to get to Mahomes. And then the coverage, the Chiefs run some really easy stuff for Mahomes to just get the ball out quick, get it to an open guy in space. Travis Kelce's ability to sit down in the middle of a zone is just unmatched by many tight ends across the league. Certainly the Texans have never been able to as easily get it to their tight end as the Chiefs do with Travis Kelce. It is just so easy sometimes for Kansas City, and they made those little itty-bitty adjustments and were able to get the ball out and mitigate the pass rush, keep that from affecting Mahomes. Oh, by the way, he had a fake ankle injury. He's clearly not as hurt as people thought he was a week ago. That was a fake. That wasn't real. So he was able to move around and was very mobile in this one. Rushed for the touchdown early against the Texans, and the defense just, they had to be damn near perfect, and any small little window the Chiefs were going to take advantage, and that's what they started to do. Got a little bit of space on coverage. Boom, the Chiefs are getting the ball out to the open guy. Kelsey sits down. They need 5, he gets 6. They need 7, he gets 8. Like it just was very easy for them to distribute. They get it out to a lot of their receivers, from Hollywood to Xavier Worthy to DeAndre Hopkins on the sideline. That was an incredible play by him to stop. It looked like he pushed off Okudah, and then you see the replay, and like he didn't, and Jeff Okudah's just standing there like, what am I supposed to do? They're just a very good football team, and this is part of the reason why they have one loss on the season, and sometimes the officiating's on their side too. So that's kind of the big overview of this one. I do want to give you guys time to weigh in, comments, questions, joys, concerns, and just so many different things to get to out of this game. Dana says, refs, we had a scoop and score PI on Tank. Yeah, I'm trying to think of all the poor refereeing situations. I didn't believe that was a roughing the passer on the scoop and score. So I think they should have picked that flag up, because it looked like a fumble to me. It looked like a fumble to me. They're not going to call it a fumble. It certainly didn't look like a roughing the passer. He didn't hit his head. He hit his shoulder, and the head came down on the arm. So he didn't hit him in the head. But the referees threw that erased what would have been a 3rd and long. Like, even if it's just an incomplete pass, it would have been a 3rd and long. The pass interference on Tank Dell, the offensive pass interference on Tank Dell, was atrocious. That was one of the most ridiculous calls I've ever seen. It was only surpassed by the phantom holding call on Derek Stingley at one point. That was total BS. Yeah, the officials, they aren't the reason the Texans lost, but they certainly affected the game, allowed Kansas City to keep some things going with some of those drives. I think Stingley was on a 3rd down as well. And then the Texans, I mean, once they had that offensive pass interference on 1st down, like you knew something terrible was going to happen. And they went backwards, and Stroud ran out of bounds for a sack, which was awful. Didn't make a quick decision with the football at one point. Like, it just, things, again, they snowball for the Texans. You make one little mistake or something negative happens, and things just snowball out of control for this team so often. Evan McGinley with a super chat. Of course, the super chat jumps you to the front of the line. Trade for G5. Fire Bobby. Pick up Deontay. Prayers up to Tank Dell. Evan, appreciate you for the super chat. He wants Garrett Wilson in here, and he wants a new offensive coordinator. I know a lot of people are going to want a new offensive coordinator after this one. The sideways passes, they cannot continue. Garrett Wilson, we can talk about the Garrett Wilson thing in the we can talk about Garrett Wilson in the offseason. And then Deontay Johnson. So with Tank Dell's injury, the Texans have got to add some wide receiver help. I don't want Jared Wayne being the wide receiver they add to the active roster. So Deontay Johnson was waived by the Ravens. The Texans will have to put in a waiver claim, and they'll have to hope that no team ahead of them in the waiver order, which goes reverse from the standings, they'll have to hope that no team ahead of them in the waiver order claims Deontay Johnson. If they get Deontay Johnson, Texans cap has been a great help. Cap and trade here on Substack, and of course Texans cap on Twitter. He's been a great help on this. 3 p.m. Monday is when they'd find out if they get Deontay Johnson. Well, you know what Monday is? It's the second day of their work week, getting ready for a Wednesday game. Okay, it's the last day they do anything in the building. So not like claiming Deontay Johnson, getting him off waivers helps them against Baltimore. It doesn't. Unless he's going to show up with no playbook, no help, and go in there and be able to play on Wednesday. But he doesn't help them much on Wednesday. I mean, I guess you could play him. But even if you signed a free agent tomorrow, That guy's in the building for 3 days before you play a football game. So they've got to add somebody. That guy can't help them Wednesday, but you've got to hope that the couple of weeks and leading into the playoffs, that player can get acclimated and help you come playoff time. So a couple of super chats to get here. Quentin Swift says, good game, go Chiefs. Quentin is a friend of mine. He is a Chiefs fan. He didn't think the officials did anything wrong, but I appreciate the super chat. It was a really good game for a while. And I mean, if Tank Dell doesn't get hurt on that touchdown catch, we might have a back and forth affair all the way down to the wire. We might have had a really, really fun football game here in the middle of this Saturday. If Dell doesn't get hurt on that one. Dell gets hurt, there's the long break. Kaimi Fairbairn misses the extra point, and the floodgates kind of open from there against the Texans. But Quentin, appreciate the super chat, and we probably would have had a much better game if Dell doesn't get injured there. Tay says, Johnson is a quitter. No one wants him because of that. Well, you know what? The guy's got more receiving yards, or he's got almost as many receiving yards, more touchdowns, and less receptions than Hutchinson, Woods, and Mechie combined. So I'd put a guy that can play on the field. Yeah, okay. Didn't like what he did in Baltimore. Sure. But he's going to be on the field right away playing. He wasn't on the field right away in Baltimore. Mike Tomlin couldn't get him. John Harbaugh couldn't get him ready. Okay, well, what happened in the 7 games this season when he was fine for the Panthers? And they traded a 7th-round pick for him. It didn't work out for them in Baltimore. It doesn't mean they can't ever work out. Have some faith in D'Amico Ryans to coach him up. Have some faith in C.J. Stroud to keep him on the straight and narrow. Mushroom 713, Hutchinson, weak AF, can't block one-on-one on screens. Yeah, on top of people know when the Texans are running the screens, the blocking on them is horrific. The blocking on the screens is terrible. They not only is the design of the play bad, the timing of the screens are bad, the blocking is also bad. So with all 3 of those things, when the timing, design, and blocking of the play that needs excellent timing, blocking, and design, if all 3 of those things are bad, don't run that play. But the Texans continued to go to it, and they went to it in inopportune times. And we hear over and over and over and over again, they can't make poor decisions on 1st and 2nd down and put themselves in 3rd and long. And then Bobby Slowick's throwing the freaking ball sideways to guys. And guys aren't blocking it up. Guys aren't running the play the right way. It's not designed well, and other teams know when it's happening. That's bad. That's really bad. Thank you, Mushroom. Patrick with the super chat. Stoots, challenge you to come up with 3 positives from the game. I can think of maybe half of one. All right, 3 positives from this one. CJ Stroud's put together one of his better drives of the season, maybe the best drive of the season on that first touchdown drive. Like, there were flashes of what it's supposed to look like offensively. That's what is a positive coming out of this one. Like, there were moments where it's supposed to look like that offensively. That first touchdown drive was really good. Stroud was decisive with the football. And the offensive line for 2.5 quarters blocked pretty well. That'd be a positive number 2. Kendrick Green looks like he is more adept at right guard than Shaq Mason is. It feels like Kendrick Green should be the right guard going forward. And the fact they have a game in 3 days makes me think that Mason's chances of playing in that one are pretty low. But Kendrick Green looked better than Shaq Mason. He's more mobile. He got out on that Joe Mixon screen where they faked the wide receiver screen, thank God, and threw it to Joe Mixon. Kendrick Green flew from the right guard spot and was just huffing it to get across to make the block. He looks better than Shaq Mason at right guard. And what's another positive? I mean, Kamari Lassiter, I thought, still had a pretty nice game. He had that one play where he was step for step with Worthy and got into the passing lane, knocked it down. But, you're not going to find a ton of positives in this one, because you're going to see, as you watch this game, a lot of the stuff you see from the Texans from most of their games. They don't tackle well. They don't get the guy down when they first make contact. Guys are running into space, and guys are looking at each other like, oh man, I didn't know that guy was going to be in space. right there. Like there's just a lot of things from, eventually the offensive line started giving up pressure. CJ Stroud started feeling that pressure and was making some poor decisions. Nobody besides Nico Collins could get open. Like the stuff you see from losses and even some of the wins this year, they started to show back up in the second half against Kansas City. Patrick, appreciate you for the super chat. Evan's back in here again. We got something to look forward to for years to come. I think this is growing pains. Guys in his second year will be all right, not this year. I hope you're talking about CJ. He is. He follows it up with CJ. CJ says he will be great. Trust. Look, there were some positives from CJ Stroud in this one. Certainly, that first half, outside of those interceptions, he looked really good. Now the 2 interceptions are really bad plays. He probably took points off the board with the second one. The first one, he sailed it too high, and there was no chance, even if he puts it on Nico Collins, to me, there was no chance of Nico Collins catching that ball. Like he makes some uncharacteristic mistakes if you hold him to that 2023 standard, but he had some good luck last year with interceptions where guys were just dropping them or guys came down out of bounds. I'm like, some of that luck's turned. Some of it is he's a little bit riskier with the football, probably because he feels like he has to be at different times. But there were some bright spots from CJ Stroud to go along with some of the tough play. That's why I call the offense Jekyll and Hyde. You see some really good stuff, and then you see some really ugly stuff from this offense. Evan, I appreciate the super chat. All right, let's get to some of the comments here. Panda says, see, if we can't block, why would we keep calling them? Great question. I do not know why Bobby Slowick continued to go to the screens. Bentley says positive Shaq Mason's out. Shaq Mason, to me, has had the worst year of his football career this year. And the Texans looked better on the offensive line when he was out today. Now, was Kendrick Green perfect? Hell no. He had one play where he just fell down, and the guy that he was supposed to be blocking sacked C.J. Stroud. So it's not like he was amazing, but he was better than Shaq Mason. And if they could get some cohesion on that offensive line, obviously the offense can operate and make some things happen. Kendrick Green looks solid today. Blake Fisher had some nice moments. Got a super chat from Jake Eubanks. I hate Swifties. That's all. Yeah, she was not too many shots at Taylor Swift. Man, Travis Kelce, he does not run fast. He is not super physical. He does not fight through tackles, but he gets open. He catches the football. He goes down, and he lives to fight another day. I mean, he does that. It feels like as good as anybody at the tight end position. Appreciate you, Jake. Evan with one more here. We're still a young team in H-Town, guys. Yeah, look, Evan's right. They're still a young team, and you look around at the coaches in the AFC, and DeMeco Ryans is one of the only guys that's not accomplished anything in his NFL career as a head coach. Sean McDermott's obviously had the Bills deep in the playoffs. And then I don't need to go through the resumes of Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, and Sean Payton for you to understand it's going to take some time. It's annoying when you see stuff in this week of the season that was there in week 3, week 4, week 5, week 8, and especially on offense too. Like, you would have hoped that it's easier to play offense than ever. You would have hoped that some of that stuff would have been coached out by now. BG says, this is some complete BS. 2+ delay of games. Slowick has to have some fault in that, taking too much time relaying the play calling. It's too much time to relay the play call. Too much time to get lined up because you don't have your typical wide receivers out there. You don't have your typical guard signaling the center to go. Now, if you remember, the left guard is usually the guy that throws his hand out there and the center knows to snap the football. Well, Titus Howard is in his second game at left guard, and he's on the road in Arrowhead, one of the loudest stadiums in all of the NFL, and he's out there having to signal to Jarrett Patterson to snap the ball. You can't always hear when you're on the field because Arrowhead's loud. And then there was just some disjointed mess from the offense. Like, they've got to be more efficient. They cannot have small delay of game penalties rip 5 yards away from them. They live in the margins, and that's a negative margin that they can't live with. Everybody's got to be better on the operation. And if the guys don't know where to line up, don't put them in the game. There was one time though, that wasn't even a lineup thing. They just didn't hear the play call. It was like 13 seconds left, and Dalton Schultz was doing this at the sideline, like almost like give it to us again, or we didn't get it. They had to call that timeout. That was awful. That was awful. BG, thank you for the super chat. Mark Sofuentes, OBJ seems more possible now. You got to add somebody. Okay. I don't believe much in Odell Beckham, but I wouldn't do nothing if I was the Texans. I wouldn't just lean on the practice squad players, which they've got Jared Wayne, who's a wide receiver, Johnny Johnson III, who's a wide receiver, and Xavier Johnson, who is a wide receiver. Like, I wouldn't just lean on those guys. I mean, Jared Wayne did nothing today. Johnny Johnson's basically never played in the NFL, and Xavier Johnson's a rookie. So I would go add a free agent. Odell Beckham's a free agent. Hunter Renfrow, if he's in football shape. I would try to claim Deontay Johnson. I'd maybe even think about two of these guys just to get them in the room, because we have no idea how long Mechie's shoulder is going to be injured. You got to put Mechie back on the field as soon as he's healthy. When's he healthy? He wasn't healthy enough to play in this one. Is he going to be healthy enough for Wednesday? Like, free agents don't help you for Wednesday, but you got to have guys for Tennessee, and you got to have guys for the playoff game, the home playoff game that you're going to host in that 4-5 matchup, which they're pretty much locked into at this point. So, yeah, I mean, I was anti-Odell when there were other options already on the roster, but, now that you move those guys up the roster, get them in here and just see if there's anything left. Just kick the tires on whoever you need to kick the tires on. But they can't. Doing nothing is not an option. Doing nothing is not an option when it comes to the wide receiver situation. Steven says Bobby should be fired into the atmosphere of the season is basically a wasn't now. I'm going to assume you meant waste now. Yeah, the season basically a waste now. I mean, I don't know if it's a waste. You still playing a playoff game. You get valuable experience there. But it certainly doesn't feel like it's going to go where it could have gone if you had a better offense. Evan again with a super chat. Stroud has the same amount of rings as Goff, Allen, Jackson, Burrows, CJ is in second year playing meaningful games. Wait until year 4 or 5. No worry. Sure. I mean, like, Evan, I don't think anybody's disagreeing with you on, like, patience is probably necessary here in the situation. It is. Patience is necessary, but you can still be critical of the play within the season because there hasn't been a lot of growth and he's making uncharacteristic mistakes. Like, yes, I'm excited for year 4, year 5, year 10 of CJ Stroud and D'Amico Ryans as a tandem, but you're not there yet, and you have to deal with what year 2 is, and year 2 has been underwhelming at times. Year 2 has been disappointing at times. Appreciate the super chat, though, Evan. Quentin Hicks says, crazy to see how well read plays were designed compared to Slowick. They had answers, man. They had answers for so many Texans things. If it was a blitz, they had something ready. Texans had guys coming off this way. Boom, there's a running back leaking out over there. Texans are guarding the sidelines with their excellent cornerback play. Boom, we'll hit them over the middle. We'll go after we'll go after whoever's out there on the field at linebacker, Christian Harris or Eric Murray. Will go after those guys in the middle of the field. So, I mean, Andy Reid's the best offensive, one of the best offensive minds in all of football. I mean, he's going to adjust to you. He's going to adjust to you. I must penalty says, can't be that hard to give a guy 1 or 2 routes to run for him to know the concept on that specific play. Yeah, I mean, I don't agree. I don't disagree with you. And then I watch Jared Wayne not know where to line up. I watch Xavier Hutchinson not know where to line up, and they're in the building every week. So, I say it can't be that hard, and then the Texans make it look hard sometimes. Well, my God, the offense is just bad. You're going to tell me at the start of the season with all the weapons we have, we can't score 30, 40 points a game like top AFC teams. Yeah, the offense it's poorly designed, it's poorly executed, and now it's lightly talented. They've got Nico Collins, Joe Mixon, and nothing else to write home about from an offensive standpoint. So that's pretty much where they are right now. The Texans ownership loves to hype the team to sell tickets. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they could have said nothing and they would have sold as many tickets as they needed this year. Like, I'm not going to fault the ownership for being excited coming into the season. I was excited coming into the season. Were you not excited coming in to this year? Yeah, they were so ready and perfect, but barely won. It wasn't like Texans got their ass kicked. No, but I think that's like today is an example of a team that the Texans are not quite like they aren't quite at that level. And like the Texans did it early in the season. This is something I wrote about on Houston Football. The Texans had some victories earlier in the year where they gutted it out. Remember when they couldn't run the ball and they just threw the hell out of it and they led the league in passing a few weeks into the season? And then remember when they couldn't throw the ball and they just ran the crap out of it with Joe Mixon and they were able to run the football really well. And that kind of carried them in a game here or there. Last week they had the defense. Like they've had moments where they can win when they don't have their best stuff, but they can't always access that level of talent. Like that it factor, that's something. Maybe it's experience with the moments or having gone through them as failures, and then maybe next time you understand it better. They can't access that like the Chiefs can. Like the Chiefs have small mistakes. They look around, okay, we had a mistake, and they just make up for it with their next play. Like it's kind of remarkable to watch. The Texans can't do that yet. They did it a couple times in this game, but they don't have it for 4 quarters like the Chiefs do. Like the Texans got behind the chains a couple, like Tank had a nice 3rd and long first down. Dalton Schultz had a 3rd and long first down. Like they overcame some small mistakes, but later on, small mistakes, they stubbed their toe and it turned into an infection and then you had to cut their foot off. Like that's kind of how the Texans have operated this year. When the Chiefs stub their toe, they look around, they don't even say ow anymore, and they keep going. And the Texans don't have that level of maybe it's talent, coaching, focus, commit, whatever. Like the Texans can't access that on a consistent basis like the Chiefs can. Evan McGinley says, Cliff Kingsbury, Eric Bieniemy, someone else. Well, Cliff Kingsbury is not leaving the Commander's job, so that's going to be a no. Eric Bieniemy is a no for me. He just coordinated the 119th worst offense in college football. There's 132 teams, so he just coordinated the 119th worst offense in football. That's a no for me, but you should be scouring college. You look at a guy like Liam Cohen, who's from college, previously at Kentucky, had worked with McVay before. Look at what the Buccaneers are doing. They've been able to move the ball all year long. Mike Evans in and out of the lineup. Chris Godwin got hurt, was done for the year. And Baker Mayfield's their quarterback. And Bucky Irving and Rachaad White are their running backs. Like they're able to move the ball up and down the field. Liam Cohen's designed an excellent offense. That's a young, forward-thinking, McVay tree offensive mind who had a lot of success in college where he called plays before. I'd like somebody that has called plays before. And I know that there's geniuses out there that run offenses that haven't called plays before that are good at it. Mike McDaniel's the best example of it. He calls plays in Miami after not calling plays in San Francisco, and he's an offensive genius. Well, Mike McDaniels don't grow on trees. So you can't have Mike McDaniel. Oh, by the way, he's a head coach because he was so good in a non-play calling position and so impressive, they went and got him. So you're going to have to go find somebody, maybe from college, off another pro staff. Want to give Gerard Johnson an opportunity. That's if you make a change. I'm not 100% sure that they're going to make the change, that they're going to move on from Bobby Slowick. Dina asks, is it truly Bobby Slowick's calls or players not executing the play calls? I understand when they don't work, change it. But a lot of times it's the players. A lot of times it's the offensive line. A lot of times it's Bobby Slowick's poorly designed plays and defenses are ready for it. Like sometimes the players don't look ready for what the defense is giving them in that play because the defense knows it's coming. Like Slowick, it feels like, has telegraphed things before. Brandon wants a new training staff. I don't know that that's going to solve anything. We lost due to our details, which was our reason for victory last week. Yeah, you just weren't good enough at the small fine-tuning things. You weren't good enough. And the Chiefs were. And they won. And they won by 8 points. And they won by 8 points. It probably could have been a little bit bigger, little smaller deficit, but yeah. Those refs got to go. It was not a good performance by the referees in this one. Not a good performance. Even if you want to agree with the roughing the passer and it not being a fumble, the offensive pass interference was a joke. The Derek Stingley penalty was a joke. Bad job by the referees. Mushroom says, I wanted to buy tickets, but at best we're a first-round exit. I mean, on a good day, they've got enough to beat whoever ends up in the 5 spot, on a good day. But is it going to be a good day when it's the 4-5 matchup, the first game of Wild Card Weekend? Chiefs reporters saying this was the best game they played all year easily. Of course, it comes versus us. Yeah, the Chiefs had they got Hollywood Brown back. He was an immediate impact for them, able to just get open, quick stuff. Mahomes didn't get beat up a bunch. He clearly wasn't as hurt as people thought he was. But Darian, I said earlier in the season, still felt like this team was a draft away from reaching their full potential, especially on defense. Yeah, that very well could be. Very well could be a draft away. Another free agency cycle, and maybe this year helps set them up for next year. They've still got games to play, and again, you saw some of the good that if they could just bottle that up and find a way to put it together, then they've got the opportunity to beat a lot of teams on any given day. Steven says the season's basically over. They're going to get trashed by the Ravens. Not sure about the Titans losing the first round. Okay, well. See you in the offseason, I guess. Cody, I just pooped in. I think you meant popped in. Can you please tell me what you think about the officiating of this game? Yeah, they were bad. They were bad. P Nasty. Cody and friends, buy the dip. P Nasty is a crypto guy. And then he follows it up with CJ is not him. Now, there's moments today where he did not look like the quarterback we all hoped, wanted, and expected him to be this year. And then there were moments where he did. It was a roller coaster day for CJ Stroud. A lot of really high moments, a lot of really low moments for Stroud in this one. The interceptions were tough. The Nico interception had no chance. The other interception probably took points off of the board. No, if it was an incomplete, I think Kaimi might have missed that field goal. It was a little long. And in Kansas City, I don't know. Running out of bounds for a 5-yard sack, that's unacceptable. Just flip the ball out of bounds and save yourself 5 yards. This team is not good enough to just eat 5 yards away. Not getting the play called and everybody lined up and all that stuff, that's not good enough either. But there were still some plays where that trademark accuracy was there. Like some good from the CJ Stroud today, some bad. Was there enough good? No. Was there too much bad? Yes. You ready to give up on the guy? You probably shouldn't. Probably shouldn't. We have the potential, just don't know how to use them. Yeah, the potential's tough because sometimes the players aren't ready to accept their opportunity. It's Robert Woods fumbles the ball when he gets it. Tank Dell had some drops earlier this year. Nico had a drop last week. Like sometimes it's the players, sometimes the potential is there and the players aren't ready for it. Henry T, it wasn't his best game. He got fooled and allowed those big screen plays to happen. Yes, I mean, Henry To'o got picked on by Andy Reid. I mean, that's your backup starting linebacker. Like I say backup starting linebacker. To'o obviously plays next to Azeez Al-Shire, but does that happen if Azeez Al-Shire is in there? Maybe not as much. The NFL screwed him and, he wasn't available for this game and not going to be available for the next game. So they're just going to have to make it work with Henry To'o. Got a super chat. Cade Campisi jumps to the front of the line. Mr. Stoots, always a pleasure. 2 parts to my chat. Do you think Nick picks up an available wide receiver and who's going to start at the slot corner spot? Also, it's my boy Aiden Blair's birthday, hoping for a shout out. Shout out Aiden Blair. Happy birthday to you. Top wide receiver available. Pick your poison. I mean, I would tell you try to claim Deontay Johnson on waivers. You sign a free agent, somebody, a veteran who's played a lot of football. Odell played in a similar system, so he may know it. I don't think he's physically very good anymore, but there are worse options. You do not have enough bodies that you can trust in this wide receiver room. So, yes, they need to add to the wide receiver room, and it can't be Jared Wayne or Johnny Johnson or Xavier Johnson off the practice squad as the addition. Who's going to play slot corner? I mean, I would tell you that there's going to be moments where it's Miles Bryant, and I would also tell you there's going to be moments where they drop Kamari Lassiter in there and Jeff Okudah is out there on the outside cornerback spot. So there's not a one – like Jimmy Ward was the easy replacement when Jalen Petrie went down. There's no easy replacement now that Jimmy Ward's down for that slot cornerback spot. So that one's tough. Appreciate the super chat. Happy birthday, Aiden Blair. And your friend Cade seems to – like you very much. I hope that one is only present, though. And if it was, it's a pretty good present, you know. Shout out on the post-game show. Pretty good. Pretty good. A lot of comments. I'll try to get to as many as I can as they kind of jump out. Eric Murray and Jimmy Ward always hurt. Blown coverage. Murray's constantly sucking in pass coverage. We need to draft their replacement. I mean, Jimmy Ward's not going anywhere. He's got a contract for next season. Eric Murray's probably out of here at the end of the year. I mean, it's tough to get super critical. Eric Murray is not supposed to be in this position. You're supposed to have Petrie and Ward healthy, and he's supposed to be a replacement, not a replacement player, but a rotational player. He's having a start now. Cannot be to the Chiefs and the umpires too. Charles, I think, is saying the refs are, on the Chiefs side. Look, the refs are not the reason the Texans lost, but it affected the game. It certainly affected the game. Jedi says that the first TD was offensive pass interference. No. Cut Bobby, give 2 firsts for the Jets for Garrett Wilson. Okay. I know that fixes everything. A new offensive coordinator would help. Garrett Wilson helps. They're going to have to go get wide receivers. I mean, who knows what Tank Dell's future holds? I wouldn't anticipate he's going to be available much in 2025. So you got Tank Dell, serious knee injury. Stefon Diggs, serious knee injury. Nico's under contract. And then what? The last year of John Mechie's contract, the third year of Xavier Hutchinson's contract. Like they probably need 2, 3, 4 bodies in that wide receiver room. Linus Vrindquist. I hope I did that right, Linus. So a 14-1 team has their best game against us, and we played bad and still wasn't that lopsided. Kind of have that as some sort of positive. I mean, if you want to look at it that way, certainly. I would tell you that there are positives from this game. You just get annoyed by the negatives that showed up and the unfortunate events that cost you Jimmy Ward probably for a little while and Tank Dell for the rest of the season. So, like, those things kind of – but, like, again, there were some good moments from C.J. Stroud. There were some really bad moments from C.J. Stroud. Joe Mixon looked like his ankle injury is not a huge deal, and then he wasn't on the field for some stretches. The offensive line had a good 2.5 quarters, and then they had a rough, 1.5 quarters. Like, there's some good and bad, some yin and yang. Like, this is not a moral victory team, though. Like you can't plant a moral victory flag coming out of this one. Not when you could have defeated the other team if you were just a little bit better, but they haven't been that little bit better multiple times this year, which is kind of where, like, they're hitting the ceiling so many times this year. I still go get Travis Hunter. That's not going to fix things. I now know how the Cheatriots feel. I think Jedi is a Chiefs fan. I did text a Chiefs fan friend of mine, and I said to him, I would be so embarrassed to root for the Chiefs if the officials – I said I'd be so embarrassed to root for the Houston Texans if the officials officiated him the way the Chiefs officiated him. And then, of course, he was immediately defending himself. Mr. Benjamin 1000 says, just lose out, playoffs guaranteed already, get a slightly better draft pick. Well, Mr. Benjamin, I don't like that attitude. Linus is back from Sweden. Just follow the Texans in a local soccer team that has 2 titles in 100+ years. So I talk from experience. Linus, appreciate you checking in from Sweden, man. I think you've been in the chat before, so good to see you. Evan with a super chat. We have a bright future in H-Town, just a tough year. Yeah, it's starting to get tougher with all the injuries that are piling up. It has been difficult here with the injuries continuing to pile up. Quit blaming the refs. Play better, score more points. Okay, well, to score points, you got to get the ball. And to get the ball, you got to play defense. So when you force the Chiefs into a 3rd and long, and the referees have a somewhat bogus roughing the passer call, it's tough to score points. When you're a red zone team and the officials have a horrendous offensive pass interference call that knocks you back 10 yards, it's tough to score points. When you almost have the Chiefs off the field and they call this total bullshit holding call and Derek Stingley, it's tough to score points. So, yeah, like the refs are not the reason the Texans lost, but it hurt them. Okay? It hurt them. Patrick says, in my opinion, the Texans did right by playing hard today. We had something to prove to ourselves for the playoffs. The injuries and the refs got us. But to say we should have sat because of this is 2020 hindsight. Yeah, I'm not under the opinion of that. Rock says, with Ward out, the Texans are going to have to go to a 3 linebacker set. Yeah, there's just some teams you can't play 3 linebackers against, though. Like, I mean, you could probably get away with it a couple of times against the Ravens because they've got Derrick Henry back there. But when they move Justice Hill out to to catch the ball, and Mark Andrews is on the field and Zay Flowers and all that, it becomes difficult. Like, and who are the guys you trust? You got to put Neville Hewitt out there with To'o and Christian Harris. I mean, when Aziz is back, certainly you'll play a little bit more, but that's not a full, all-encompassing total solution. Steven says the wide receiver depth of this team is absolutely atrocious, no matter what combination we do at O-line. Their dog Texans a ways away to go for being real contenders. Yeah, then the depth got even more shallow. The depth got even more shallow with Tank Dell's injury. So people keep saying Skoronek's making plays for Pittsburgh. What did he do? He's got 2 catches for 25 yards, which would be, maybe one of the best days for Xavier Hutchinson all season long. All right, so Ben Skowronek making plays over there for the Steelers. Mushroom says we're paying a lot of money to Schultz for his half-ass blocking, can't catch, and runs like he has flip-flops on. He did have the bad drop. He's got you got to have that. You got to have that. He had the touchdown catch. He had the big first down catch. The blocking is atrocious. He's one of the worst blockers I've ever seen. It's not good. I don't know if he's always perfect on his assignment, and then everybody else messes up, so it makes him look bad. He just watched a guy run at CJ Stroud today. He just watched a guy. Like, I don't know if he was supposed to block him or somebody else was supposed to get him, but he just watched a guy run at CJ Stroud today. The blocking's bad. Andrew Beck's the best non-offensive line blocker they have, and they cut him in the preseason, got rid of him, and he's been sitting at home for most of the season. So I don't know why they got rid of him. He's one of the better he's probably the best non-offensive line blocker that they have. That guy, now obviously he's fresh, he's healthy, he hadn't played a season of football, but he was flying around there bowling guys over. So Abigail asked, why was Jared Wayne running that route? Who messed up? Yeah, I don't know. Is that a play where CJ was kind of off script and he just chunked it as far as he could and knew somebody was down there? Was Wayne supposed to be in there? I mean, obviously Wayne collides with CJ Stroud. So I don't know how that one happened. Let's see here. The Chiefs still under 30 points per game. Yeah, they've scored 30 a handful of times and haven't gone over 31. And all the other teams, they put the stat up there on NBC. All the other teams that have done that are awful, losing teams, like 2-3 win teams. The Raiders are one of them. It's really impressive. I mean, they're just better than everybody. They're better coached. They're more complete. They're more focused. They take care of what they can control and what they can do. Their offense is expertly designed. Their defense has enough most games. 100 screens for 0 yards and slow as usual. 2-minute drill. Get Bobby out of here, man. It's not great. It's not great. Unless you meant Garrett Wilson, I meant Myles Garrett. Garrett would be a better player. Yeah, Nobody's trading for Myles Garrett, but Garrett Wilson, sure. Pursue him. think it's just a ploy from him to get paid early, though. I don't know if Nick Caserio will make a move, to be honest, at wide receiver. We'll find out. I don't know that anybody can help them for Wednesday. Like, even if you called the guy that you wanted to sign right now, hey, insert free agent. I hate doing this with the phone. Nobody holds their phone like that. Hey, insert free agent. We're in Kansas City. Get your ass to Houston. You're on the team. We'll sign the contract in the morning. Get in the building. We'll send you a digital playbook. Start learning it. Okay, so you tell that guy. He's got to get to Houston, which he probably could. Wherever you are in the United States right now, you could probably get to Houston early in the morning. He's got to get to Houston. Get in the building. Practice, walk through, film study, get up to date on who it is. You can't help them for Wednesday. Anybody you add is to hopefully help you against the Tennessee Titans, however much you need to play in that game or want to play in that game. And it's hopefully to help you against whoever you play in the playoffs. That's what you're adding a free agent for. And then if they end up with a waiver claim on Deontay Johnson, then Deontay Johnson is headed their way by the middle of the day or the late part of the day, Monday. 3 p.m. is when they'll find out if they get him. But, yeah, I really do feel like they should add somebody to that room, not just promote a practice squad player. Birdie Boy with a super chat. Seems like Fatukasi is super important. Every time he's out, teams run on us. Kinda. I mean, he left early last week and they shut down Achane. That's a bad rushing attack, though, from Miami. But he certainly helps in the rushing game. There was a play there. It was like a third and got to have it. It looked like Tim Settle jumped inside, and they ran right where it felt like Settle vacated. So I don't know if that's one very specific play that I just remember from the game. Could he help the run defense? Certainly. He can't stay healthy either, though. Birdie Boy, appreciate the super chat. Jalen Johnson says, thought the defense was okay. It was okay. They just got picked apart by a really good offense, and the Chiefs do that to everybody. There's no shame in that. No shame in that. Why wasn't the Mahomes run stopped? He put the ball on the ground while being touched. I'll have to go back and look. I mean, it has to be wrist or higher for the play to stop. It has to be wrist or higher or lower body extremity. Nobody's saying anything about Mahomes not completing a pass at 10+ air yards. Yeah, because they want to get rid of the damn thing. They don't want Mahomes standing back there taking a hit. We need to cut Dalton Schultz. This guy's an actual bum. I mean, that's not going to happen. He's owed a lot of money. Cap and Trade can tell you. The flip-flop comment on Schultz is so funny. Yeah, Cap and Trade can tell you how much money he's actually owed, but he's owed a lot of money. They're not getting rid of Dalton Schultz this offseason. Panda talking about the Jared Wayne Tank Dell situation. It looked like he's off-script diving for the ball. I don't know why. I mean, he probably just saw CJ moving and just took off for the end zone, hoping to be there. The Texans just weren't there mentally after the Dell injury. It affected them for sure. I mean, certainly. It's tough to get in there, and then it affected the actual execution ability of the offense. Like, they put a bunch of guys on Nico Collins. I think he only had the one catch there on the scramble maybe after Dell got hurt. But it becomes very easy to defend the Texans when you take away Nico Collins. It becomes very easy. Juan says Kadarius Toney. Didn't he make it on a team? Didn't Kadarius Toney in Cleveland? Or did the Browns cut him? No, he's still in Cleveland, I think. But yeah, no, thank you. Kadarius Toney. I mean, are there any bad answers? I don't know. Cody, you're doing it wrong. You put your phone on speaker and hold it like a slice of pizza. If I hold something like a slice of pizza, I might eat it on accident. Brian Body Calhoun. Hey, Cody, tell the Texans, bring me back, please. I can show Ward how to cover better. Brian Body Calhoun. Jimmy's got to be healthy before he's worried about anything about covering or this or that. P. Nasty, CJ crying like that needs to be talked about. How do we give a $200 million after that? I get it. It's sad. CJ's job, according to him, is to make others around you better. He was on tilt. Did he play well after the Tank Dell injury? No. Was it because he was upset about Tank Dell? No. The offensive line stopped blocking, and he had a couple of brain fart moments. He had brain fart moments in the beginning when Dell was on the field. I'm not super, I don't think CJ's like a wuss because he was upset that Tank Dell got hurt. I don't think he's some kind of like wussy that I'm afraid to pay money to. Like, he's an incredible competitor. He's good at football. Would I like for him to be great at football before I rattle off a giant contract to him? Certainly. Tommy Dang says Tank suffered a dislocated kneecap. Is that official? Did we see something? Is that something official there? On Twitter, we have anything? Yeah, here we go. Rap Sheet says dislocated kneecap surgery is still being determined. Okay, how bad's a dislocated kneecap? How bad's a dislocated kneecap? It's obviously terrible. It looked like it sucked, but I'll check the Ian tweet, Cody. Okay, here we go. Odell, Johnson, Tony, Renfro. That's not a law firm I want to shop at. Imus Paneline says that maturity, in tune with his emotions. Cap and Trade says not good, Cody. Yeah, I know it's not good. It obviously looked terrible, but has somebody bounced back from it? Like, has somebody do we have who's the last dislocated kneecap that we remember in the NFL? Oh, J.C. Jackson dislocated his kneecap. Yeah, he was not good after that. Jonah Williams had a dislocated kneecap. He's not been very good after that. Nick Chubb. Okay. These are not. I'm going to stop reading the the guys that had dislocated kneecaps in the NFL because it doesn't look good. It hurts for sure. I could tell that much. A dislocated kneecap for Tank Dell. They're still determining if surgery is going to be the outcome. They still haven't determined the damage. It's significant, but not clear how significant, according to Ian Rappaport. Okay. Patrick says there are a lot of ligaments and tendons that run through the kneecap. That thing looked like it swung around to the other side of his leg. Yeah, not good. Let's see here. Dr. Darian says potential career ender. Byron Jones had one. It's all depending on the severity. Mahomes in 2019. AB says he missed about a month, and then he corrects himself as 2 months. Sorry. Yeah, it looked a lot worse than some of the other ones that we've seen. I also thought when I just hit the Google machine, I also thought it said a different thing for Mahomes, but Texans cap has dots for us. Let's pull that up here. Let's see what Texans cap's got for us here on the dots. I don't think the dots will get me in trouble here. All right. This is the play that went for the touchdown where Tank Dell got hurt. Let's see here. So Jared Wayne is 14 on this one. So let's take a look at this play via the dots. Obviously, I can't show you the real play. That's a YouTube violation. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Jared Wayne is well within his right to. It looks like he's well within his right to be headed that way. It's. I mean, could he have caught it? I mean, was he diving? Could he have caught it if he was diving? Boy, Joe Mixon was really open. Obviously, the pressure gets to him, but Joe Mixon was very open on that play. Does Aaron Wilson say he's going to be all right? Well, I hope not. Aaron's had some rough flips on him where it hadn't looked good after Aaron said it's going to be okay. And he's had some guys where he said it's going to be terrible and it's ended up being okay. Why is the play designed that way? It's not because you don't see – I mean, Cap had to move it, I'm sure. You don't see the pressure. You don't see the pressure that pops in there. I don't think the play was designed that way. Judge Dredd says, my ACL got hurt in the Army. It still hurts. Yeah, the dislocated knee does not sound good. It does not sound good for Tank Dell. That did happen. Aaron said, Nico was going to be fine, and then he went on IR and then didn't come off when he was ready to come off, even though Aaron said he was ready. That happened. That happened. So, all right, the big picture from this one, Texans still headed to the playoffs, but the big picture significantly gets affected because of the things that happened in this game. Tank Dell's injury lowers their ceiling on offense even more. Jimmy Ward's injury lowers their ceiling on defense. Now, the offensive line had some nice moments, some bad moments. Same for C.J. Stroud. He had some nice moments, some bad moments. They've got to figure out some way, somehow, to get this offense to be a lot more consistent if they have any hopes of making any sort of playoff run, much less beating their first opponent in the playoffs. Short week, few days away, Christmas. Hope everybody's having a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays if you don't celebrate Christmas. And it'll be a Christmas Day game against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, as we talk right now, are locked into a little fist fight with the Pittsburgh Steelers. 17-10 is the score there on that one. In the college football playoff, Texas is handing it to Clemson. So that's not great for Dabo and company. So some good and bad from CJ, maybe a little bit more bad than you would want in this one. Some good and bad from the offensive line. Tank Dell's injury is a big issue for the offense. Jimmy Ward's injury is a big issue for the defense. Just not quite good enough to take care of a team like Kansas City. I think if you copy and pasted this performance against a lot of the opponents the Texans played this year, they still come out with a victory, not against Kansas City. You're not up to the Kansas City level just yet. So that's where the Texans are right now. SNL with Landry Locker. Don't forget to catch that. We got the SNL channel for you, so go subscribe to that on YouTube. What am I missing here? I think that's it. I think that's all for us here. So we end the live stream the same way each and every time. It's my hope for you. This is my charge for you as well. I want you to eat good. I want you to sleep good. I want you to be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the football today. Enjoy the football tomorrow. Plenty to come from NRG Stadium this week. And then Wednesday, Christmas Day, the Ravens are in town. So new game right around the corner. Appreciate everybody for watching. You make this so much fun. And it is very therapeutic to go through all this with you as we go through the disappointing and costly loss the Texans had against the Kansas City Chiefs. Thanks for watching, everybody.